all the time. So now when I turn a piece of wood, I'll shear scrape the outside, and that lets me find these cracks, and I've super glued them. And then I clean up the edges so I can see cracks, and I can see how far this one runs. That's actually discoloration and not a crack. When I flip it over to the other end, here's a crack, here's a crack, here's a crack, all the way down. And I could not tell that this crack went all the way through until I put super glue on it. I couldn't see it. It was had dust and everything. And here's that wind shake. That's what they call it, wind shake?
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are the ones that'll get you.
Yes, because here's the problem. I think that's the end of it. But if it continues over here and I don't see it, can y'all see what I'm doing? If this thing comes over here and connects with this crack and comes over here and connects with this crack, this entire chunk of wood will come loose somewhere along the way. So I tend to put, quite often, I'll cut the end of a log and it has the wind shake on this side, but I can't find it over here. So I will put this in up against the tailstock on the assumption that I'm going to cut back down here. That's not always true, but I'll assume that I'm going to cut back, and I will have this toward the bottom of the bowl. And I have this idea that keeps me from cutting into it out here. Because if I cut into this and join these cracks up, it will fly off.
What CA glue do you use? Thin?
I have thin and medium. This is medium for filling cracks.
It'll run down in there?
A little bit. I don't use CA glue to fill cracks. I use it more to find them. And then I try to cut them out.
Medium doing that than you do with. You have better luck with medium doing that than with thin.
I think thin would probably be better, but I'm saving my thin CA glue for some Corian work that I want to do later on.
Okay.
And I use medium because that's what I have.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm really not an expert on CA glue, but this is something to look for. Anytime
Would something like acetone follow a crack down and show
it might. I don't know. I would be more
it
like
would evaporate out.
I would use alcohol. But CA glue works pretty good for me. So this is something to be careful of, and I'm glad you brought that up because I used to get whacked pretty hard. And now I've started getting a good finish on the outside so I can find these cracks. And then I face it off and get a nice clean cut on here so I can see how far the cracks go on both sides. And since I've started doing that, I haven't been hit. Okay, let's see. Jim Bob, what time? If we're going to be out of here by 12:30, I need to finish a little before 12.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate how to turn boxes. And this is what my boxes used to look like, all of them. Straight side, little curve at the top, real thick on the top, real thick on the bottom, and you can feel it when you pick it up. A simple finial, and in some way to hide the cut. And I turned tons of these, and all of them are gone except for this one. And it's because people like boxes. And but I got kind of tired of turning these. I wanted to try something new. So this is what I'm going to try to turn today. Okay, got a little curve to it. I put a decorative bead in there and give some kind of interest to the top. And here you go. Okay. And then choose a really cool piece of wood. This is beetle kill pine out of Colorado. Well, this is what I want to make. And here's part of the problem. I'm not very good with shapes. There's some subtle differences between these, and I like this one a lot better than I like this one.
Well, the height is the same, but your diameter is different. So the proportion relationship height width
Yep.
is different.
That's part of it, the proportions, but then
Shoulder on the side turns in on the bigger box, it looks better.
so now on today's piece, I want to take this bead and make it smaller. I don't mean shorter. I mean I want the diameter to be less, and pull this in just a little bit, and then see what I have to do at the top. And that's something I'm not very good at. So I might need some adult supervision when I'm doing this, okay? But here's the deal. I turn a box like this with a real narrow, I guess, tenon. And then I decided to turn another one and put some threads on it. This plastic thread I cut out of a vitamin bottle. And I didn't pay attention, and I started rounding this edge over, and I cut to the inside. Where do I need to be?
You're good right there. Yeah, wherever you want to be.
Oh. And I blew the top off, and it went flying over my shoulder. It takes me back to something I consistently forget. I am not good at designing on the lathe. I need to design it on paper so I can see the inside and the outside, and I know that I can't curl that too much. Okay, so that's the first thing that I have to remember when I'm turning a box is I had better design it on paper. Some people can think and design and realize where the inside and the outside are. I'm not one of those people.
Jim, can you speak up a little bit of that? Either I'm getting awful hard of hearing, or and that may be the problem.
It could be both. I could be talking a little bit softer. Can y'all hear me in the back now? Okay. Okay. So part of today's demo is you're going to have to help me decide what shape we're going to apply. So I want to shoot for something like this, but I want to make it better. Okay. I want to avoid what I did on this one because during the design process of the precursor to this, I didn't account for the height of that tenon, and I blew the top off. Okay. So I want y'all to watch out for me. Don't let me do that. Okay. That's all I have to say about this. Who's got stick? Yeah, can I have my stick back? I'll trade you.
I'll take it.
This is what I whack stuff with. Okay, so how about we just get started? This is a piece of Russian olive, I think. Or something. Somebody gave it to me. Okay, just want to make sure I don't have any new cracks popping up so I can turn this one without worry. Okay, looks good. Just true it up. First thing I want to do is just separate the top and the bottom. That's not quite the first thing I want to do. I want to cut a tenon over here so that I have something to hold on to while I'm turning the inside of the bib. And I've marked already I've marked the size of the tenon. My goggles are somewhere. Get them in a minute. I should warn the beginning turners, my technique is not always very good. Sometimes it's not any good at all. So if you think I'm doing something wrong, there's an entire possibility that it's true. Ask the guy sitting next to you. Now, I want to cut this about right about in here. Now, here's what I'm trying to do. How deep do I want to cut that? This little tenon is where I want this cut to stop. I just want to clean it up a little bit and have that tenon fixed. Now the question is, how deep do I want to go? And I'm trying to eyeball how big do I want this bead? What diameter do I want this way? And this is where I'm just not very good at. I'll have to make a dozen of these to get it just where I want it. Let's see what happens. Okay. Normally at home I'd fuss with this and take it out if I'm trying to get something new or something. So let's just be bold. I'm going to take it down a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to call that good. That's going to bring that beat down a little bit. Now I'm going to take another cutoff tool. See if I can cut this off. Send it in a little bit deeper. Don't touch the cutoff tool. It's hot. Okay, that's good. When I do work like this, I don't try to be as efficient as I can be. There's probably ways to turn this more efficiently, quicker, less work than the way I do it. But I tend to try to leave my options open as long as I can. And that's working well for me. Most of the time it works well for me. Next time I'll bring my sawzall out here. clean this face off. And I want to clean up this tenon a little bit. And then we have to decide what we're going to do next. Okay. Now, I need to decide what kind of box I want. Do I want a simple mortise and tenon? And if I want mortise and tenon, do I want it a press fit or a loose fit? The first box I ever made, I just worked really hard to get a press fit because that's pure ego. I wanted to just show that I'm good. Okay, it's that simple. It's pure ego. 90% of the boxes I make to give people, they don't want a press fit box. When you lift the lid on your box, you want the lid to come off. If it takes two hands, they'd rather have a different box. So I don't make press fit boxes anymore. Okay? So if I make a mortise and tenon box, I want it just a little bit loose. And I need to caution you that if you make it a little bit too tight and then put a finish on it, it can swell and become press fit. I keep forgetting that. Sorry. Okay, so that's one thing I need to remember. Okay? Now, sometimes you may want a press fit box. This little sewing kit, there's 2 press fit surfaces in there. And those need to be press fit because you don't want the needles falling out, presumably in a lady's purse or somebody's pocket. Okay. But the rest of the time, you really don't want it press fit. You want it loose. And that people want to open it with one hand, take whatever's in there out, and go from there. Okay. And you can have all kinds of wild boxes, but the same idea is there. Simple. One thing, and I forget this all the time. Oops. That's my hand, and that's Alicia's hand. Alicia, where is she? Okay, she's a tiny gal running around. That's the side of her hand. I have to be aware of that. If I make a box for me, I can make a really large box with a large lid, and I'm okay. But I have to remember that my hand's quite a bit bigger than a lot of other folks. If I'm making Alicia a box, I need to make sure that I don't make it much bigger than like that. If I compare my hand to most ladies, it's going to be up and about in here. And I have forgotten that numerous times. Then I've been disappointed and they've been disappointed. So that's one thing. The next thing I need to decide is, am I going to thread this or not? And if I thread it, I need at least about 1/4 of an inch sticking out. And that determines how I make the cap. I tried to make this box the same way I made the big one I've been talking about. I tried to curl this edge over, cut through the top. Bad planning on my part. But if you don't want to build a jig to thread, or you don't want to buy a jig to thread, you can basically buy the threads. This is a vitamin box. The green body and the yellow cap that you see at Walmart, all I did was cut the threads off and glue them on here. And you can do all kinds of wild things with the threads. Another option is to cut a channel around here. Cut a channel around here. Okay. And then put pins then you have to cut a groove here and here. And now I use toothpicks, and I wouldn't use toothpicks. They're too easily chipped and broken. Something a little sturdier, 1/8 inch. Put some super glue on it to strengthen them, or use steel dowels. And this works pretty good. You can also do stuff like this. I cheated and marked the box so I could find the opening. But you cut a channel on the outside, cut a channel on the inside. Drill a hole all the way through this piece, put a cap on it. And then you have a puzzle box. It's actually really easy to break into one of these, but it's fun. Okay. This came out of a book from 1950, a textbook for woodworking. Okay. The last option I'll talk about, no, almost the last option. You can use magnets. I didn't have a drill bit the right size for these magnets, so I just dug a channel, cut a channel in there, glued the magnets so that they were flush or sub-flush to this edge. And now the question is, how do I line the magnets in the base with the magnets in the top? These little bitty magnets and these big old fingers don't work so well, so I take one magnet off, stick the rest of them to the end of this piece of steel, pick up this magnet, and then that lets me glue these into that channel. I do that in 4 places. Now when I'm ready to put the top on, I do exactly the same thing. Oh, it's on there. I just put a magnet on top of the other magnet. That means I'm in the right place with the right orientation. I do that in all 4 places. Put a tiny drop of super glue on top of each one. I've already cut the groove. I get this lined up where I want it. Set it on there until the super glue sets. And now I have all 4 magnets aligned with the proper orientation, and I didn't have to figure out north and south and all that other stuff. This trick has helped me a lot, like working with magnets. The piece of steel is smaller than my fingers. By keeping a stack of magnets attached to this, I guarantee I have the right orientation at this end. Works pretty good. Okay. If I'm going to do this, I need enough area here to cut those channels. Or if you have the right drill bit, then you just drill holes wherever you want it. Okay. I would not put the magnets on this surface because it's easy to slide 2 magnets off of each other. If you're on this surface, all you're doing is sliding. Okay. And it would come off. If you have the magnets here, you have to rotate the cap to get it off. You can't just pull it off. Do y'all want to see these? I can pass them around if you want. Let me get rid of that because it's pain. There's that. Here's this. Here's this. And this press fit box, it's hard to get off because I cut my tenon like this. And then I cut the mortise like this. I messed up twice. Okay. Just a touch of sandpaper would solve that problem.
Explain the baseball. No, the baseball. Rubber
Right
cut.
there.
Oh,
It's got magnets in it.
no. That's
How does it stick and it feels like it's got magnets?
remnants from double-sided tape.
Are you kidding me?
No.
We were looking at it, then we
That's
You got us.
Different.
okay. So let's see. So now, after talking about all of that, I'm going to cut a more to some tenon in here. And I don't want this. I don't want this tenon too wide. So I'm thinking 1/8 of an inch tall. I need this surface pretty. I need this surface pretty. And I need the first 1/4 inch of this to look good. The rest of it, I can just rip it off because I'm going to hollow this out. Clean that up just a hair.
Then what I'll do,
1900. I'm not accustomed to this lathe. I normally run at 12 at home, 12 or 18, and here I'm just turning the knob up because I need to hurry. Okay. So now I need to cut the body. I have my tenon, and I think of this as an engineering surface. I need to know, I need to be able to keep that dimension, and I need to keep it round and flat. This is a artistic surface. I can do anything I want to here, but I need to preserve this. I don't want to do anything unfortunate in this. Okay, I'm gonna hurry. So, question is, how far do I want to cut this for that bead? And normally I would plan this out. I'd draw it out on paper. I would have a design that I think is going to look good. But today I'm just going to give it a shot and see what happens. This is just a standard Irish grind bowl gouge. This is the detail gouge that I use the same sort of jig, and it has a really aggressive profile on it. I would not suggest doing this if you're a beginner, because the chances of a catch are just phenomenal. But the idea is the same. You just want to roll that bead. Come at it from both sides. Is that good enough? I left a flat spot here. That'll let the cap sit flat on something. And normally I would take a ruler and hold it up against here to make sure that's flat. I'm not going to do that because I need to move along. Okay. On the box that you have, I just turned a big bead here. And now I've got, if I turn a big bead here, I'm going to cut a bunch of it off, which is okay with me. I don't care how big the box is, but I want to, let's try something different down here. So, yeah. So let's see what we come up with. Maybe a little more. What do you think? Put a bead at the bottom, curl it over a little more.
Roll it over the bottom.
Just roll it over.
Roll the bottom.
Something like that. Okay.
And you won't have a foot on it, or you're gonna sit right on the bed. Yeah,
Thinking. I don't know the answer.
don't move in.
So
There.
part of me wants to put a bead at the bottom to match the bead at the top. Part of me says that's good enough.
I think so.
And this is why it takes me a long time, and I have to make several of these because I don't know enough about this kind of turning with the ornamentation. Someday I'm going to take the time to do a whole lot of spindle turning, just all day for days, do spindle turning and learn that vocabulary of fillet, bead, cove, bottle, base. Learn that vocabulary, and that will really help me learn this stuff. That's
That
been
piece would look good with like 3 little feet underneath it.
Yeah.
Where it sits up on the table.
okay. I'm going to call that good. I would normally shear scrape it a little bit, tune up this bead a little bit, and then hollow it out. And just so you know how I hollow these out, I'll put a Forstner bit in here and run it down to the depth that I want. Then I'll put a bigger Forstner bit and just remove a little bit of material. Then I'll measure this distance from the edge at the bottom of this bead to the top of the tenon, and I'll mark that on the inside. So I'll turn this outer edge, and I put a mark on the inside that tells me where this point is. I take a homemade scraper and start just behind that line and start working this out. And given this point on the inside, the maximum diameter and the depth, I can normally work that fairly quickly so that I have a constant wall thickness and I have the appropriate depth. And it's really important that I do that because if you handle this box, you can tell the bottom is too thick and the top is too thick just by feeling of it. Most people that I hand the wood turning to, they feel of it. They look at it,
Turn it over.
but then they feel it. And you can tell the bottom's too thick. So I've started working really hard on doing that, and locating these 3 points helps me do that quickly. Okay. Do you have any questions about this? Okay. Okay. Now it's time to get the top. First thing I want to do is face this off. Okay. I don't have any cracks that's going to surprise me. So, take a set of dividers. Set my dividers so that they tell me the diameter of this tenon. Pretty sure that pencil mark is smaller than that tenon, so I can hog that out real quick. So I'm almost to the line. Now I'm going to take a depth gauge, set it so that it's just a little bit deeper than that tenon is tall. And then I'm going to check the depth, and I need to take just a hair off of here. Now I want to square this mortise. This is a homemade tool, so I have a mesquite branch. Drilled a hole in it. I got the other hole on the other side centered. It's just a piece of 1/2 inch steel. And I have a carbide cutter at the end. And I like this tool because I don't have to slide it along the tool rest. I can roll it, tip it and move that cutter just a little bit. I don't slide and I don't control my sliding motion well. Just never have. And I can get this guy in here and roll it. And cut that line in half. Here's the fun part. I want to get this pretty tight. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. That way if I get in a hurry and mess it up, you know what's going on. I want to turn the bottom of this by making this a jam chuck. So I want to be able to take this tenon, put it in that mortise and then hit it, and drive it in and have it hold. Maybe that's the goal. I'm going to get in a hurry and maybe I'm going to get it right, maybe I'm not. If that doesn't work and it's a loose fit, I'll just bring the tailstock up, cut it off, finish it off that way. So it's not a disaster if I miss it. And this is the part where I have to be patient. Because the difference between a press fit and a loose fit is a few thousandths of an inch. This reads says I need to take 40 thousandths off. Sorry this is taking so long. I'm trying not to mess it up real bad. It's time to get this done. Okay, that's too loose. I got to hurry. So, no, ideally, I'd have to whack this to get it in there. It would stay on by itself, and I'd turn the bottom. We would be finished with this, inside and out. That's not going to happen. So I'm not going to take the time to turn the bottom.
You need to own it later anyway.
Pardon me?
You'd mess it up if you don't hollow it later. Yeah, you end up with a yellow box.
Yeah, it's time for me to finish. Okay, so I'm going to take a pencil mark. And that's going to tell me where I want this curve to come to so that it joins that bead. Good enough. Okay. Now the question is, what do we want to do on the top? What do we want the top to look like? Are you happy with the, or do you want something else you want to try?
I
I come to this place and people give me ideas. So
Uh-oh.
the piece that I got and looking at this reminded me of something I had a lack of work when I was a kid. And it's just a doll. It's a box. It's actually two boxes.
I see. So there's a body. This bead is bigger to be the face,
Right. And then there's this.
and then a cone shaped
Yeah.
cap.
So it's actually, this was two separate boxes with a cone shape. Just an idea.
Okay. How much time do I have?
2 minutes. 10 minutes.
That's my 10-minute tool. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is make exactly what I did there, because I've done it. It's quick, and I can do it in 10 minutes. This is the part where I need to know what kind of tenon I put on there, because I'm about to cut underneath here, and I let that little bitty skinny tenon so that I have as much free play as I want here. If I had the big tenon, I could get in trouble doing what I'm about to do. Oops. Did y'all see what I did? I hit the wood before I had my bevel ready. ABC.
Yep.
It's called an Audrey.
It works. But I was able to clean it up. If I get the anchor, get my tool on the tool rest, get my bevel set, and then make a cut, I can leave this a sharp edge and I don't have to worry about it. But if I don't follow the ABCs, the very fundamental things, it doesn't matter how long I turn, it's the same thing over and over again. Okay, I'm going to shear scrape this a little bit. And now I'm going to knock that. This is sharp enough to cut me. It's another thing that I read in the book. I've never done it myself, actually. I've bled all over these things before. Okay, so now I need to step back, turn sideways, and I can't decide. So the only thing I know to do is to finish it. And then stand it up and compare it to this one, compare it to this one, and I'll set these up on the counter and I'll look at them for days. And I'll learn little subtle things, and then I'll talk to people, and they have their different opinions. And by looking at these for a long time, I learned how to take something that's almost what I want and turn it into something I really like. Okay. One of the cool things about being a wood turner is I can explore these kind of shapes until I get tired of exploring them. Then I can start twisting wood until I get tired of twisting wood. The nutty side of me, of course, is always here. The really playful side can come out. This is, I made this a long time ago with using, pass it around. That came about, a lady wanted a jewelry box shaped like a heart, so I learned how to make the hearts, and I learned how to make hinges. And it turns out the hinge is a finger box joint. Is that what that's called? But don't make it too tight. Make it a little bit loose. But when you drill a hole through, make it tight. That gives you a smooth, tight. Man, you're good at cutting those hinges. And all you do is drill a hole the same size as the pin you put through. And that's seriously how all these hinges work. But then, like wood turners, we're able to shape this wood any way we want. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Make the bevel in the middle of the heart box.
Make the bevel. Which?
A little point, like right here. How do you just like turn it like that?
Okay, let me get the big one. It's easier to see. I turn this in two parts. There's a cut line right here. I turn this as one part. So this is what it looks like when it's on the lathe, and I cut into here. Then when I open it up, if you imagine this coming all the way around, I turn this shape. And then down on the bottom, I turn a snow cone and then glue them together. So it's turned in two pieces. That's one of the cool things about wood turning is if you can think it up, you can turn it. And it's really a lot of fun. And seriously, goofy things like this, I keep doing that too. You can have all kinds of boxes. One thing I've learned, look at pottery and glass for ideas and also for solutions. I make these candy dispensers, and I make a lid like this to go on top of a glass lampshade. that glass is not round. It may look round, but it's not. And if I put this kind of top on there and shake it, it'll fly off, which accounts for the finial missing. If I look at pottery, they deal with non-round things all the time, and they just put, I call it a skirt. And then I put this in there, and you can shake that thing all you want to, and this doesn't fly out. So if you need inspiration or you need solutions, you can look at pottery and glassware, because they've solved these problems thousands of years ago. So I hope this has inspired you to turn a few boxes. I have 4 pieces of wood over here. Spalted pecan, I think walnut, and whatever Scott gave me a while back. Was that cottonwood with the crutches?
It may have been, I don't recall.
I think it's cottonwood. You can just grab one, but all I ask is if you take one, bring something to the raffle. Not necessarily out of this, but bring something to the raffle next month. I'm done.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Would you say this was?